Good evening, everyone. This is the June 27th, 2018 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission. This meeting is being broadcast live, Richard?
Yes.
And also is being recorded. Rebroadcast of this meeting can be seen on the Auburn Town website, which is auburnguide.com. Before we begin tonight's hearing, I'm required to ask if anyone in the audience is making a recording of this hearing. There being no indication that is the case. The first item on tonight's agenda is a 7 p.m. public hearing, Longwood Development Corporation, a notice of intent for the construction of a commercial building and parking lot on property located at 17 Millstreet. Is there a motion to open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you for opening the hearing. I had sent some documents to the planning board and copied several
Jill
other
was
people.
just plowing down to grab those,
And
yeah.
for some reason, they were not able to open the PDF document, so I sent them separately today, one at a time. It may have been a data problem.
Okay.
But
I just
small copies.
printed out.
Thank you.
If you could share.
We
Yes, we
have,
will share.
we have large copies, small copies,
I'll move for
That's
that
fine.
second.
anything you
Okay, I can do it.
want to look at. Anyway, just to update where we've been since our last public hearing, we had a meeting last night with the planning board, and they voted to approve the site plan as submitted. They had an outside consultant, Beeman Associates, do the peer review, Burton Associates, Burton Engineering. And we have a couple of reports from them. But basically, the final report they gave the board yesterday was that they were okay with the project, and they had no further review required. They looked at the drainage infiltration systems that we had. They looked at the entire site relative to the requirements of the planning board, but they also looked at the requirements of the Conservation Commission.
Have you seen the report, the Burton report?
Oh, I saw 3 of them, yes.
Well, did you see the most recent one that came out on June 25th?
The 25th was, yeah. June 25th.
No, I just saw one yesterday in the email that said that
Yeah, well,
there
that was
a couple
probably
they had a couple of questions about it,
They did.
the 25th, yeah.
And specifically, I just want to draw your attention to the last page, which is page 9, where there are additional comments.
I gave you the right ones. These were from DEP.
And my concern is not with 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 specifically.
Okay, the last page?
Page 9.
Okay, so water quality swale is also recharging infiltrating.
Correct.
Swales are typically used as a measure of conveyance.
I think you answered that question.
Yeah, what we,
And they sent a new letter on the 26th.
yeah.
Well, I didn't receive the letter, sir, so I can't.
Well, I can
comment on
explain what happened, okay? The, to be perfectly honest with you, prior to the DEP even having water quality swales, we had them, we were using them as infiltration. And we basically took the water quality swale idea and we increased it by making the stone below the swale 4 feet deep, 3 to 4 feet deep. And in areas where you had sandy soil, we would infiltrate the water. So we would continue to call it a water quality swale. However, the DEP now has a book out, which they call it an infiltration trench. They basically took some of my drawings, believe it or not, DEP and Sutton through the Sutton Conservation Commission, and used our design in the stormwater management regulations, which I had no problem with. In fact, they used some of my work for the riverfront zone as well. So the answer to your question is, if you look at the latest plan, it's now called an infiltration trench and not a water quality swale.
So is this a question of semantics?
It was a question of semantics, exactly. So if you look at
Okay.
the details on
The
the,
trench swale, okay, gotcha.
if you look at the detail on the sediment and erosion control plan,
Which page is that, sir?
which is page 204,
Okay.
you'll see called a Caltech recharger
Yes.
chamber. And
All right, awesome. Excellent.
you have the chamber and stone, it's a stone-lined trench. Basically, that stone-lined trench infiltrates all of the water from the rooftop. The way Ken is going to develop the building is that all of the drainage is going to go to the back of the building and go off the lip. And if you take a look at let's see, sheet 3 or 4, if you have that.
I do.
On the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see the infiltration trench. We had previously called it a water quality swale because early on, that's what they used to call it. What it is, it's a 3-foot deep trench filled with what we call 3-inch minus washed stone. And because the soil here was sandy gravel, we are allowed to take 2.4 inches of water per hour and recharge it into the ground. And that, along with the storage of the basin, pretty much handles all of the rooftop runoff right up until a 25-year storm. Everything 25-year storm and under doesn't go anywhere other than into this trench and goes into the ground. We have to contain the 100-year storm. So what we did was, if you take a look at the top of this trench, you'll see an outfall structure. And that's basically a 24-inch reinforced concrete pipe turned on its side. You drill a hole in it, and there's a lot of small holes. And what that does is it allows the water to go into that pipe. It's a vertical pipe. And sends the water through a 6-inch PVC pipe into the Caltech chamber, which is the main chamber in front of the building. And the whole idea of this is what we call the drainage train. It's designed to contain and slow down the flow of the water, so that when you take a look at what we call the time of concentration, it takes a lot longer for the water to get off the site. It's either infiltrated into the ground or it's stored in the chamber, the Caltech chambers. These are actually recycled bottles, plastic bottles that are reformed into plastic chambers, high density plastic, and you can put them below pavement as long as you have a minimum of a foot of cover. In this case here, we have about 18 inches of cover. But anyway, the whole idea of the system is that up until basically 10 to 15-year storm, no water leaves the site at all. It's all recharged into the ground. Now, because we're doing that, and we are in an aquifer zone, we have to run the water through what we call it a storm scepter chamber, and through the review that we had done with the consultant, we showed that 92% of the sediment is contained within the storm scepter unit, and this is drainage with sand and everything from the parking lot. 92% is contained with it's called a 450I catch basin storm scepter, and it works on the idea that as the water comes in, it swirls around. If you've ever swirled water in a bucket, through the vortex, it separates out the dirt from the water. The vortex, and then it also uses the flow to actually push the dirt into an area in the bottom. It's a self-contained unit. It does have to be maintained. It has to be cleaned out once in a while, depending upon how much dirt gets into it, really. But it's up to the owner. There's a maintenance report within the stormwater
I think they have,
standards. You know, and there's a maintenance report, and it explains how this
Yeah.
system has to be maintained. Now, this case here, we're fortunate in that Ken is very familiar with this system, so he knows how to take care of it. A lot of times, the owners don't know, so we have to give them a report and hope that they follow it. In this case here, it shouldn't be a problem, but what we also looked at from the sediment and erosion control plan, we're more or less taking you through the development of the project, where initially you put in the construction entrance at the roadway. And this is basically a rumble strip that, with rocks. It cleans the tires, hopefully. And again, Ken is very familiar with the regulations on that. The idea is to keep the dirt when the site is under construction. Keep the gravel and the soil on the site, not in Millstreet. It's also one of the requirements of the DPW that if you do mess up the street, you got to clean it up. In this case here, Ken will be developing force main sewer system, which will be connected also to the Sear property. So you'll have 2 Environmental 1 pumps. These are self-contained pump units, and they tie in to a line. It's going to go all the way up Millstreet up to Millbury Street, and that's already under review through the sewer department.
DPW.
DPW.
It's approved.
And they approved it. They basically walked us through how they wanted it done. There was several trees along the roadway, so what we're going to do is saw cut the pavement. Any areas where we have trees, you have to go outside the trees. And in the process of generally, when you have a roadway next to a fairly moist soil with pavement, not a lot of the roots go under the road because there's no water there. Well, not much. The majority of the roots are actually on the area that's, in this case here, it's the southern side, which tends to be a higher growth for the upper story as well as the roots. So we don't anticipate a lot. But the idea is we have to go far enough away so we don't cut up a lot of roots.
Can we get a copy of that, your plan for the sewer tie-in?
That's part of this
part of this. All
application.
right.
It's sheet 4.
Yeah, backwards.
I'd like to note too
Yep.
that Sear
On the very
Electric, the
back.
neighbor,
That's the last one.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
we have to abandon their septic system. We're gonna connect them, so that septic will be gone.
Okay.
Neighbor
Is
next
this
door.
going?
Sear will be
Yeah,
gone.
Oh, wow.
It just gets approved. We're gonna put an E1 pump on his property, and we're gonna connect it into my line, and both of us will have town sewer pretty much.
Great.
So he'll be off.
That's
His
pretty
septic
good.
system, which is, happens to be in the back corner. Closest to
It'll
the-
actually be better.
Right. Great.
We will be, I brought 2 complete sets of the plans that will be submitting to you tonight. But
Right, and I saw the revision day was on 6/25, is that right?
Yep.
It's Monday, so this is the final set.
This is it, yes.
And that was the second-
This is the plan that was approved by planning board last night. This
Okay.
is the same plan.
And then, Mr. Murphy, what about number 4? Which talks about an updated table of existing versus proposed stormwater runoff.
Oh, you know, he must not have gotten the latest report because it was in the second, basically it was the second report and I submitted that to him.
Okay.
It was, for some reason, he didn't get it. But anyway, it was,
I was gonna say, I don't
I
have
have it on
that.
my phone.
Oh, you do?
I can pull it up if you want.
Yeah, that's okay.
we did several things at their request. We did a groundwater mounding analysis for the plan.
Okay.
The,
But that's something you can provide to us, correct?
it's amended May 23rd, which was the,
May 23rd?
Yeah.
You're asking for,
This was April.
it's the final review
It-
on the last 2
There's a copy
items?
of
No, it's
523,
the-
and this one
yeah,
is-
I mean-
Even though it has
Yeah,
a date up in
Matt's
the right
going to
corner,
have
it's
it.
always the original
It's-
on the plan, and then they show revision.
I don't, I have the April 5th. I only have the one April 5th.
I'm just looking for comments with respect to number 3 and number 4 at
Yep.
the end of the Burton
You know
report.
what they asked for was the peak flow and the post-development flow, and
Mhm.
and they were, in fact, I
Provided.
think Sheila You faxed one of the reports that they didn't get because I saw it was
Okay.
scanned. It was scanned and.
Yeah.
And
they
Well, I
had-
tried to
it
scan
showed
everything
received
that
or
I
whatever.
had,
Yeah,
and
so they got a copy of
So
it.
and what's the date of that report, Mr. Weaver?
May 23rd.
Okay.
It was amended May
May
23rd.
23rd, okay.
And you may not have gotten a copy of the email, but the email that went to Matt yesterday prior to the hearing from Burton said that they were all set
All right.
with everything, and the board accepted that. Yeah, what I did was I rescanned all of the reports because there was they had mentioned in one of their letters that they didn't receive the groundwater mounting analysis either, so I scanned them that. So I want to make sure everything was covered. I gave them everything
Okay.
yesterday afternoon,
All right.
and they were okay with it.
Very
They-
good.
They were out, the planning
Okay.
board is all
Perhaps
set.
maybe we could get a copy of that email to Matt or
Yeah.
from Matt.
Yep.
So I don't have any other questions. Any questions from the board? Any
And that was the
questions
date
from the
that was
audience?
yesterday, is that correct? The
Mr.
25th?
Fan, you want to jump in here?
The 25th?
No, it's smart not to do that.
Come on. Yeah.
You do have the
This
final.
one, the drainage was
Oh.
May 23rd.
I do have one other question though. What's the maximum size of the vehicles that you're going to put on that site in terms of tonnage?
Right now, I think they're 37 feet.
How much do they weigh?
Empty weight is 29,000 pounds, 30,000 pounds.
Okay,
Empty
that's
weight.
15 tons. And how about with weight, if they're...
With weight, the maximum allowable in the state is 77,000 pounds, it's 24 tons.
Okay.
That's all I can put on the truck when it's hauling down the road.
Okay. And how many trucks do you anticipate storing at this site?
I'm not sure how many I have, actually. I think I think I gave a list. Did I give a list to you guys?
No.
But I have 2 triaxle dump trucks.
Mhm.
I have 3 utility trucks, which pretty much are off-site, like people take them home. I have 1 F-150, which is supervisor's truck. I have an F-750 dump truck, which will be on site. Oh, that's
Okay.
like a secondary unit.
So 7 to 10 trucks?
Yeah,
Maximum?
7 to 10, probably maximum. I think I own a total of 11 pieces of equipment, and like some of it will be parked inside,
Mhm.
and then others will be outside.
Got it. Okay. All right, I have no other questions.
No.
If there are no questions from the board, is there a motion to close?
Motion to close the hearing?
All right, is there a second?
Seconded?
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. All right.
Thank you.
So I can't promise that we will get to the order of conditions this evening, but we certainly will do it.
I have a lot of faith in Sheila.
Well, it's not up to Sheila.
Up to the board. We own it.
Right.
So we'll try to get to it, but if
She
not,
usually does the right.
we'll definitely do it on July 11th.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Have a good boy.
Yeah.
That's yours.
Oh, and this is 2 complete sets
Okay, wonderful.
for yours.
Okay, that's
file.
great. I've got this one.
You got 2 sets.
No, no, May.
Yeah, they're not
One away.
put together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's
Right,
fine.
we're
Yeah,
going this
that's
week,
okay.
weekend's coming soon. This guy works for me, he's up in
Okay,
Maine.
that's wonderful, Bob. Thank
Sunday.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good luck with your house.
Thanks.
I'm redoing a kitchen right now, so I'm like living out of boxes.
We're going up to Sunday River Ski Area.
We did that all
Toaster, the
winter.
toaster's on the floor,
You know, staying there,
over here.
dog friendly.
We did that all winter. We lived above
The
the
coffee
garage.
pot is on the
We went there a
shelf.
couple of years ago.
We did
Well, this
a
is
microwave,
geared towards dogs.
a water cooler, and
Got a
a
kennel in the back, big field, fence in front. Yeah, yeah, it's like 10 minutes away to the mountain.
Somehow we survived.
Yeah, she'll walk. And the lady has Carol has a couple of dogs.
The end result will be nice.
Yeah, her name's Carol.
We did a double take.
May, about 4 hour drive, 3.5. It's in the middle, you go like, you hit Auburn, you go left on 123. It's so rangeling that, but it's a 2.5 hour ride. You go through Oxford Plains, up by the speedway.
Tom's not available on the 7th.
Yeah, I won't be around that weekend.
Okay.
This Saturday, I may be, I'm not 100% sure yet.
I'm gonna be in New York.
How's it going over there?
Okay, I'm okay on the 7th.
Wall's almost done.
I'll put it down for you.
Start filling it in, compacting it.
Looks good.
I'm gonna be coming home. Well, I might be.
Oh, you're gonna be going on another trip?
Oh,
Good night.
You're here the
how can you
7th.
stand it?
Thank you.
All right. The next item on our
Sorry to
agenda
do it.
That's right.
is the 710 public hearing. Mr. Gravoski of EBT Environmental requesting to amend a bylaw order of conditions for 6 Pioneer Lane in Auburn. Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, a vote. Mr. Gravoski.
Thank you very much, Chairman
Good evening.
Thank you.
and Board. Mr. Khan is here and Lee. Thank you very much. The owners of the number 6. We did pass on some information on relative to the potential for having a continuing condition of 628 never being filled on number 6. And we did ask in this amendment to possibly remove conditions that have to do with lot number 4. And I take it that the board, well, you've heard that before from me, and now
Yeah.
we're here for that question.
And I'll be honest with you, and as I said to you at the last time we brought this up informally,
Yeah.
I think for a condition to remain in perpetuity, to guarantee that that will be the case, it really needs to be included on the deed and the legal description of the deed. Now, I'm certainly not an expert in terms of conveyancing language, although I've done a fair amount of real estate practice as an attorney. What I would propose to do is this. I would actually like to have the opportunity to run this by town council.
Thank you, sir. There's a pending sale, and of course, we would abide by your request. I know that the Lees and Mr. Vaughn are both here only because of this potential for sale. There's a sale going on?
Yes.
Is there some, if we could just bring that information into you, please. What is that?
It's been going on for about 3 or 4 weeks now. Lot
Yeah.
number 6, we have a builder that want to acquires a lot to purchase it.
Do you have a closing date?
We have a closing date. We're looking at about 3 weeks.
Well,
because it's been going on for about.
Our next meeting is July 11th, so I'm thinking with any luck, we can have town council review this and we'll have a decision or some sort of maybe guidance by the time of our next meeting.
when
Is there
the
a
next,
continuance?
The
Is that what
11th.
you're saying? There's a contingency? They won't actually buy the lot? Is that what you're saying? Without this being lifted?
Correct, because they are the builder and they wanted to build the duplex there that was agreed, approved plan, and they, go ahead.
They're concerned with the lot number 4 being on the order of conditions, which has to do with making a wetland, replication of a wetland, planting of a wetland. The order of conditions for number 6 drew in the condition of what we were going to do on
No, I
4.
still think that's a problem.
Possibly that,
I still think that's
we never questioned it at the time, but if we look at the order for number 4 and the order for number 6, they both look identical. And we already have done the work on number 4 and received a certificate
But
for the...
if they mess with 6,
Well,
it's going to impact 4.
And this is
Yeah.
exactly why we're stating that we would take a condition that will never fill in 628. So
Right.
that 4 will never get flooded any higher than it is, nor number 2 Waterman. So the agreed upon elevation for a crest outflow point where it can sheet out, which we dug last year on 3/17/17. I had a date on the plan, actually it's right, of when, because of it was 3/9/17, there was a problem, as you know, last year, the outflow point wasn't dug to the elevation. We were telling the contractor in 16 of the 628, it can't be filled in. We took him at his word that he maintained the 628. We weren't there shooting it at that moment. We went back and shot it, and the 628 had been filled in, so we went in immediately and dug out 628, showed the board last year that it was dug, shot the grades. The the cellar floor foundation is a base elevation we can shoot off of. That was what the engineer used, so we were accurate with our builder's transit to transfer that information, 628, to the outflow, dig the outflow down, and keep it maintained at 628. We rechecked 628 this year when there was a complaint by number 2 Waterman. And now we're here with looking at the order that is a concern of the buyer, that it's saying it's not just the outflow. The outflow itself is on lot number 6. It's not on number 2.
Right.
So level 4 is all done. There has a certificate of compliance. We planted it, we dug it, we restored the carrying capacity of the volume of the basin. And all we're trying to do here is ensure, I'm asking to put the 628 in to make you comfortable and the neighbor that it'll never be filled in, the 628. So we'll never get any higher of water.
Right, and my point is...
I know it, yes,
My
thank
point
you.
is that by putting it or writing it within the deed itself, that condition will always appear when the property is conveyed 20, 30, let me finish,
I understand.
40 years from now.
I-
The problem with an order of conditions is that if they come forward with a certificate of compliance at some point, there would have to be, there might be a difficulty in saying, well, we'll issue you the certificate of compliance, but for the fact that you have to keep the elevation at 628. And that's why I want to run it by town council.
Right.
We're talking to MACC and reviewing the regulation of it. That's what I sent to you, was that the way they're getting a condition in perpetuity is by putting it in the certificate. But obviously, there's a number of ways to accomplish 628. Put it in the deed, the way that MACC says to do it, and I'm seeing it in other towns, Sturbridge and just off the hand Sutton, is the way MACC states to do it, and that's to put it in the certificate of compliance, that condition number, whatever it is, once it's in the order. And so we refer back to the order, which is recorded, 628 can't be filled. I understand that in a deed, it's right in your face, you don't have to look in 2 places. I'm just saying what the state does. So I know you're looking, so I'm just doing what the state says to do. But if the funds did not have an issue with it and wanted to move it forward quicker, we could have your attorney put it in the deed of 628 and be done with it on the 11th, period. So now we don't have to go back and forth on these 2 different methods, and now it's 628, it's there, everybody knows about it, and it's the
Exactly.
way that you're familiar with
Right.
it. So that way, we don't come back and maybe get the word at the last minute. Why don't we just move forward and put the 628 in the deed, if you choose to? It doesn't hurt the deed, it just says we can't fill in 628. There always has to be this outflow point on lot number 6 that allows the water to get out of there at a certain elevation. It seems pretty cut and dry.
Who's your attorney, Mr. Fon?
Miss Jan Nguyen over on Green Street. Jan Nguyen Esquire.
I don't know her.
Robin Worcester. Worcester.
Worcester attorney.
Okay.
Worcester.
So, I mean, I think, clearly you don't want to delay your closing, and I think that you can accomplish the same goal here, and it's probably cleaner and probably cheaper too. So, just my thought.
We would move forward with that, and we would still just request that the stuff that's sitting on number 6, that actually comes from number 4, be, as we requested, be removed from number 6, which is just how to make a wetland on number 4. Here's the Pioneer order off number 6, and it totally references the what work had to be done on number. This is for number 6. What work has to be done on number 4? Just to familiarize yourself with that, if you would. So if we can do, if that's possible, I know you have the meeting on the 11th. I won't be here. I'll be flying back from
We have.
Biscayne Bay.
We just have
28.
a grandmother passed away overseas. We're flying down tomorrow night.
Sorry for your loss, sir.
We won't be back until, we won't be back until 13th, which is a Saturday.
I will have a representative here. I'll find an engineer that can just, or someone that can just handle that one aspect. Maybe Quinn they could send one guy here and we can brief him. And we wouldn't want to delay because I'm gone and I don't get back until that night and he's gone, but if it's possible,
Okay.
that's what we will do. We will have the deed ready, if she thinks. We'll have it ready, we'll make sure to pass it on. I have your email, and I have Sheila's email. and then the rest of the board could also
Okay.
obviously see it from there. And
So you'd get it here before the next meeting?
I
is
would,
that what you're planning on?
we would be on the phone with the attorney tomorrow,
Okay.
so that we can move this as quickly as
All right,
possible.
so you agree to continue the public hearing then to July 11th? With
Please.
the understanding that you'll have someone cover.
Cover.
Okay, very
Yes,
good.
yes, sir.
What time, Sheila?
Probably 7:10.
Okay.
Thank you so much. On the 7-11.
Yeah, 7:10 should be fine.
We'll get on that.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a quick comment.
Please.
I think
My
that by
guest.
doing that on the deed, sir, would be in your best interest, because we live in a society that's very likes litigation, and it just will completely, no matter what happens down the road, if somebody were to do something to fill in, it's going to protect you and your family, and that's why I think it's the best way to handle it. Yeah, and we could too, you know what I mean?
They did sell number 4, so,
Mhm.
but it just does
I know,
protect
it's
everyone.
Sure, yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, just
Sure.
to protect everybody.
Sure. Well, that's why I suggested it, just to hopefully close that
What's
issue.
going on with Suffolk
Understood.
Street?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
so-
you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to continue.
Make a motion, we continue the public hearing
Okay.
to July 11th at, what time, Sheila? 7:10.
I'll second
This is
that.
on this planning.
All right.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Opposed to vote.
This was
All right,
planning.
thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right, I'll be looking for that email.
Yes. I'll keep you informed. They'll let us know how-
When are you leaving?
The 6th.
Oh, okay.
A little bit.
Yeah, and how about
My
you? When
vacation
you
is
leave?
very small.
Tomorrow.
Wait,
Oh, wow.
Something
Yeah,
Street.
we'll do tomorrow night.
That, then we
Back
got-
to the third.
Where they-
But, we're gonna contact
Kelly's
some
house.
engineer.
No,
Okay.
I mean,
We'll have
O'Reilly's.
somebody here.
no, no, no.
Somebody.
The-
All right.
what?
Sorry.
I'm talking,
I had no idea you like something, I'm like,
That's
huh?
Suffolk Street.
it's like shorthand here.
I know.
Tell me I'll come up.
What's his name? Rochdale Street, not Suffolk Street, Rochdale Street.
Good minutes on for the
Yeah.
end of July.
498
Right, but it's like him, you know, like we're going back year after year because he didn't do the replication
Oh,
here,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't affect you.
Yeah.
All right, hold on.
I've been fine.
Then the next item on tonight's agenda
He forgot his thing.
is the 7:10 public hearing for Tim Morgan, request for determination for the installation of an in-ground pool, fence, and patio, and removal of trees at 11 Cedar Street.
There you go.
Is there a motion open?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed to vote.
Here it is right here.
Mr. Morgan?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Good. Yeah, I have,
Oh, great, yeah. That's
Yeah.
perfect,
For-
thank you.
Just an old one, or is this?
No, I don't know. No, it came in my phone.
So,
You should
I'll
who did
just
you,
look how much it is.
excuse me, who did you plan?
I did.
Oh, well, you did a good job.
Who did it?
Sheila and I did this, actually.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, yeah.
You know, she's not
Copy.
supposed to,
I made the copy and he
Yeah,
made
she
the
made the
drawing.
copy. In a bit.
Yeah.
I did kind of just go over it with color code so we could make it.
Right,
look
that's the color
better.
codes, okay, this
Yeah.
is the red, okay, good.
is this a side line of yours?
Yes.
Doing some consulting? In any event, I'm sorry. Let's be
No, no
serious now
worries.
for a moment.
It's approximate, so we had a pool company come out, Dolphin Pools, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they, the gentleman came out and spoke to me. So this is sort of an approximate location where the pool would be. The question is really along this perimeter here. After speaking to him, which is after I made this, the pool will probably sit further over to the left, out of the way there. But what's really in question are these trees. I've got a really good amount of trees right on the top perimeter there where she...
Are those marked with X's?
Those are the X's, the trees
red
are
ones.
the X's.
They have red?
The red ones, yeah. And then I have one in the corner of my house,
Benchmark.
down in the bottom there.
Cover foundation.
Yep, right there. So those, they're maybe a little more, a little less. I need to discuss that with the tree gentleman. So at most, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-ish trees that are right on that perimeter. And really the main reason is to let in more sunlight as the sun comes over the house this way.
And a few leaves.
A few leaves and caterpillars.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Caterpillars.
Pieces
Exactly.
of leaves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Were any of the trees in not good condition? I can't remember.
I actually have this one tree, which is right on the top right corner of the house, is a really straight pine, pretty decent condition. The rest have been
Yeah.
beat up by the weather. A couple of them are broken. We had a tree company come out last fall, or was it? Remember when we had all the really bad storms? And I had a company come out, Northeast Tree, I don't remember, and the guy was like, oh my word, he went through, and of course he's a tree guy, so he literally every tree you could think of. So, yeah, but there were a few back there that aren't doing too well, so.
Tell me about, on your plan, you have edge of wetland. And I'm just wondering how you determined what the edge of the wetland was.
That was already on the plan. I don't know
This was
who
for a
did
septic plan, so that's probably why they put
Yeah.
it on.
How old is it?
There's no date on it, I can see.
I'm assuming
old's the
it's
house?
gotta be from 1992.
Okay, so that's 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
okay.
existing, yeah.
So I think what we need to do, Mr. Morgan, is we like to take a look.
Sure.
And so if you would indulge us, I think we'd like to take a look at your property before our next meeting, just so we can get a sense of the lay of the land and see, you know, what the story is with the wetland. And it, you know, because 25 years is a long period of time, and there could have been significant changes.
Sure.
Okay.
Understood.
So, and I know, of course, because it's the summer, people are on vacation and doing things. So I'm not available this weekend, but I am available the 7th of July, if you're going to be around.
I am. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Excellent. It's right before I go away.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. Don't hear that very often. So with your permission, can we continue the public hearing to our next meeting, which is July 11th?
July 11th. Yes.
Okay,
I leave the 12th, so that's perfect.
okay, jeez. Everything's falling into place here.
Yes.
What time, Sheila? 7:30?
Yeah, 7:30 would probably be.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Tim Morgan's to July 11th at 7:30.
Okay, is there a second?
A second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed to vote? Okay, Mr. Morgan.
Good.
Can we come by, say, around 9 o'clock on July 7th?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right, we have your email address, so if I remember, I'll shoot you an email just letting you know,
All right.
reminding you.
Perfect.
All right.
If you just
Thank
want
you.
to sign that, Tim, let's just continue till July 11th. 7:30. And then 7:07, they're coming for the site
First place
visit.
we go on Millstreet, right? 17 Millstreet.
That's usually around 9 o'clock.
Are we good? Ish.
34.
9 a.m.
34, I'm sorry.
How's that?
Okay?
All right. Great.
All right.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, thank you,
Good
Tim.
boy. Night.
Thanks. You too. Are you guys by any chance involved in the planning for the revitalization of Drury Square project, that whole scene?
Somewhat.
Somewhat? All
I
right.
am somewhat. I'm not.
You are somewhat.
I
Okay.
am somewhat.
Talk to her.
All right, a little later on, maybe.
Okay.
Your flow here.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Just kidding.
That'll never happen.
Never.
All right. The next item on tonight's agenda is 7:30 public hearing. Massive Family LLC notice of intent for the construction of a parking lot with underground infiltration and above-ground forebay with detention pond on property located at 2420 and 35th Avenue. Is there a motion to open?
Motion to open.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed to vote? Mr. Kravosky.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Board. There's only two abutters to this. It is the Faith Baptist Church and Faith Realty, which is Prime. We were there a few months ago looking at the proposed removal of the three structures through an RDA. We reviewed, as you might recall, we reviewed the wetland line. We saw the buildings there, they're on a separate plan. They have been removed. This is the 168-car parking area. It's going through planning board. There was a continuance last night due to some lighting change. And they'll be back on the 10th. Peer review is being done on the stormwater through the planning board, so we're looking forward to you receiving that, us receiving comments, passing them on to you, addressing it.
Who's the consultant?
I don't know who's looking at that. I'd have to ask Zachary Glass of existing grades who's doing the peer review. I
Okay.
think they're most of the time it's grades.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
Most
would,
of the time, right.
I don't know at this point.
That's fine.
I can, I'll send an email tomorrow and I'll let you know who it is, but
Okay.
everything else is where we kept it outside, unless I am in an error, we kept it outside the 25-foot. This was already a disturbed area, as we might recall.
Mhm.
We stayed out of the woods. You know, you have the 50-foot and the 25, but the 25, it can drop down to that if it's already altered and disturbed, which this site is. So we stayed outside the 25, underground infiltration. There's the 4-bay that you mentioned in the legal ad, coming into infiltration, again, all being reviewed by peer review for the planning board. The rest is straightforward. We had to bring the lot up. The water table down in this corner was at near the surface, a couple feet down. I know we had an issue with water table next door, but it is only a couple feet down there, so we had to raise the lot up, which took another rendition after they did the deep hole. So this has obviously been deep hole to determine the porosity in the water table. Brought it up and squared it off, and that's the 168.
Okay.
16 spaces.
And
All right. Well, why don't we do this then? Let's continue the public hearing.
Thank you. We request a continuance on the public hearing. I appreciate it.
And do you think the peer review will be done by July 11th?
Yes, I think that they were ready, at least Mr. Masad was ready for last night. He was surprised about the continuance. I just put him in touch with the attorney. Mr. Joe Simon has left the group.
Oh, he has?
He's gone to Connecticut, and this just happened within the last 10 days. And so he was dealing with the engineer. I wasn't dealing with the planning board aspect, and it was that glitch then with the lighting. I can only estimate that the peer review was ongoing up until even the point of yesterday, potentially with some closing comments, which I'll get to you.
Okay.
But given 2 more, or at least till 11th, that should give us that much more time to ensure that we have all comments addressed, and give the initial comment sheet to you, the final comment sheet, and bring it in, get it to Sheila well ahead of time before the meeting.
Okay.
If there are any tweaks, obviously the plan is also to get to you at least 7 days before the meeting,
Very good.
and I'll send existing grades to your meeting.
Okay.
Zachary Glass.
All right. Very good.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So is there a motion to continue?
Yeah, I just have one quick question.
Sure, sir.
Please.
Is the devil's walking stick there, that rare species that you found,
It's-
is that still in the wetland area, or is that
It's not rare, and Robert Burton, who wrote the book with Rosinski, UMass, Robert Burton, Holy Cross, they went out this spring to identify it, to put on this uncommon species for this northern region. It actually is found down south. It's a
Oh, so
southern-
it's fairly common down
It's
there?
southern species. Up north, it's not common at all, and he only had it in his book, which took about 12 or 14 years to put together. I'll send a copy of the cover sheet. I give it to every conservation commission because it gives you all the plants, from trees to shrubs to exotics plants to naturalized. Everything in Worcester County is in this book.
Wow.
So anything that, and also where they found it with maps and the old sightings, and then the new, have they rediscovered it? So that's all in there. And if I could bring in one other subject that just came to me through Sheila, did you tell the board about
No,
it?
I didn't
No.
have a chance.
Somebody called into the town hall about having hogweed in your town, a lady.
Yeah.
And hogweed, it's 14 feet tall. There's pictures on my phone. If you get it touch you,
Is it in
it's
Auburn now?
No, it turned out to be so.
It's on.
It's photoreactive, it'll burn your skin on the landscape,
Oh,
I remember.
oh, I know.
But it's very rare, though.
Yeah.
Rare, I've
Isn't
seen it once, but
It's
the
the
point
giant
is-
hogweed, it's a giant hogweed, I
It
think.
comes out of the Caucasus Mountains, but what she did have was prickly wild lettuce, which is just it's an exotic plant, but we find it in gardens and that. So they sent me, Sheila through her, sent me some pictures, and I did respond back, but I had a problem getting to your email. Did you?
I did get it.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
I
did finally get it?
respond back,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
does anyone know how the devil's walking stick ended up on that property?
I know.
All I can say is that it's been there a long time because of the amount of naturalization. If there's 50 or 60 plants out there, the other location I know in Leicester on Pleasant Street, It's, it might be 20 plants, but no, nobody does. There's one, put it this way, people plant things. Over on 31 going to St. Joseph's Abbey off of 9, there's one in somebody's yard right there. And so people do plant them. They have a pretty flower. I mean, it's a flat flower cluster, and on the way to Musquamacket Beach, there's a little grove of them on the side because they're unique. If you see them at the right time of the year, it'll jump out if you like me, look at every plant.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I found it over there too. So it's most of these things were planted. Somebody had it down south. The very last thing I'll say is I did have it's called a water locust. It has a thorn that if you ever see it, the thing is that long, but it's down in the Mississippi going to the coast. But what I see and what we've read about, and there's another, and that one's in Shrewsbury at an old farm. So people years ago, just like you would from the old country, if you were down south and were looking at a relative or at a relative's place and they had something unique, there's an umbrella magnolia across from Hillcrest Country Club in the woods that's naturalized. I sent them that too. And it has a leaf mass that's 21 inches. The leaves are 21 to 24 inches long. On a compound leaf, and it has a flower this big. It's in the middle of the woods. But again, it's next to an old farm. So years ago, if you maybe traveled down south to your brothers or something, you might have taken something like that back, because these are the places I'm finding. In farm place, old farms.
Yeah.
I found, this is the end, I found a yellow poplar, which is a tulip tree, in a swamp. I was flagging for a selectman in Oxford back a few months ago, and I'm down in the swamp in Oxford, as you just said that. I'm down in there, and there's all these tulip leaves and these little seedlings. I'm going, tulips, you don't even find them. I says, it has to be somewhere across the street, an old farm. There's a tulip tree this big. I read Burton's book. He says, yeah, we find it in Holden, I found it in Worcester, but it seems like the only natural population in Mass, at least Worcester County, is in Douglas. I happen to just I did a property on U Street in Douglas, and there they were. These they have flowers, the whole tree is flowered, and it has a stalk. Well, these trees are like that, but it goes straight up with no limbs, and then at the top it's clustered. If you ever want to see them, Roger Williams Park in Rhode Island, in the parking lot, those are all tulip trees. So there is a natural population. So these people bring them up here, and things and when you're out in the woods like me, you find that. That's it.
It's so funny, I was just talking about that the other day.
So the hogweed though, did it turn out to be
It's
not
not
be
hogweed,
hogweed?
but I have seen hogweed
Yeah.
on the cloverleaf of 90 one time. At 146 and 90, there was some growing in the cloverleaf. So it doesn't state that it's a mass in the reading that I just did all about it, but
I was told it can give you second-degree burns in the sunlight because it's photoreactive or something. That's crazy.
there it is, there it is right there. There's the burn.
Oh, wow.
And it's nasty.
Wow, it almost looks like
It looks
shingles
worse
type.
than shingles.
It
Yeah.
does look like, yeah.
I don't need to see it.
Liquid from the plant and in the sunlight.
Oh, it's
Yeah. In the
It's
light,
like
in the
a
sunlight,
severe
it's
sunburn in the
photoreactive.
sun.
Jimmy Chip.
I can see
Yeah.
it. Oh, it's hideous.
Nasty.
Oh, it's so, if it gets in your eye, you can go blind with it.
Yeah, it said
It's
that.
a bunch of nice information on it.
Heinous.
They do have them, they're
That's
very
right.
rare. but
The
they
leaf
do
is
have
totally
them.
different. The lady, I don't know what she was like, she goes, I just saw it on
2002 or
TV or something, and I
Yes,
always
Sorry,
newspaper,
the
it's on the
giant
news,
hogweed.
it was on the
They
news.
found it over
yeah.
like
Oh, was it
Ocam
news?
up that way.
It was
They're
on the
they're
news.
worried because they're like,
Not
oh,
it.
somebody,
Yeah.
Okay.
some
Yeah,
growers
it's
don't
so
realize if you
fast.
go to cut it down.
Thank you again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you very much.
Oh, can you sign this for me, Glenn?
Yes, thanks.
And we do need a motion, I believe.
I thought we did it already.
No,
The
I was gonna do
elevation
it,
has
and
to stay for
Glenn-
Then we
the
just
water
went
to
off.
flow.
Comment, and I think we went off.
Then we just went off.
Right,
again.
so an elevation of
Okay.
above sea level,
Thank
whatever
you,
it is, like
I make a
628
motion
feet above sea level.
Okay, above sea level. Okay.
That's- Has to stay
to
there.
move the public hearing for 24, 28, and 30 Faith Ave to
Oh, yeah.
July 11th at
What,
7:45?
7:45? Or even 7:40.
7:40, 7:40.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there-
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's the vote. Okay, very good.
2,
All right, thank you.
7:45,
It's actually 7:40.
7:11.
Okay.
Oh, good. Okay, so that's above elevation. That's 628.
And then,
Let me perpetuate that I can understand. If that's what you want to check out. I can check. You want to see these all? What's yours?
and we have, the last item, I think, is the meeting minutes for June 13th, rather, pardon me.
Yep,
Did you look them over?
I did.
I'm impressed.
I know.
How did you know?
You have a copy of mine?
I have, I did, I thought we did.
Well, do you have, in that case, do you have any changes?
I only saw one.
Okay.
It was
You
from this to
I do have
his,
it.
and that's it.
Right here.
Can you
Page
share this
2.
with Ms.
Blocking
Conrad?
I
She
this
did,
to
she
his.
did, I saw her, I observed her.
All right.
Good night, Glenn.
Good night.
Thank you.
We're here to be bothered, I think.
I can't imagine how he remembers everything he remembers.
I know.
Page
Into it.
2, there was like,
Yeah,
I don't know, one of the lines, like this to his.
Okay,
There were
that's
a
fine.
couple little typos, I think, that's what I
Do you have any changes? Carolyn,
No,
Tom?
So there was that one and then there was another one, wasn't there two?
No, because you said that you cut and
Oh,
pasted it.
yeah, yes,
so no.
okay.
I didn't like the way something
She
else was
worded it,
written,
yeah.
but it was written.
Actually, I do have a change.
Okay.
If you look, it's the last paragraph on page 2, talking about Mr. Goodman.
Yeah?
The last sentence in that first paragraph, if he does not comply, fines will be instituted. I think it's fair to say that fines will be considered.
where are you, page 2?
Okay, fine. Where did you say, the bottom of page 2?
It's the last paragraph.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, bottom of page 3.
Oh, okay.
That's better.
Okay, I couldn't find it.
Okay, it's
There
the,
it is.
Fines.
the
Right here.
last
Yeah,
sentence.
considered.
Fines will be considered, okay.
See that?
Okay.
No, you
Because-
I've got considered.
No, no.
I've got
You do?
considered already. Did you send that to me, Michael?
I did.
back to
Oh,
back.
maybe.
How come I've got that?
I don't know.
So you're considered.
Weird.
Maybe,
Oh, I don't know, that's what I
Yeah,
have.
do
it.
The fines will be considered.
Okay.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay.
As long as you
and
have it.
other than that, I have no other changes.
Okay.
So is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of June 13, 2018 as amended.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed to vote?
I've got you saying that they would be considered here. I have fines will be instituted. I'll change that to
Consider
consider.
myself.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to, because the project at 17 Millstreet has been pending for so long, and because we've gotten a fair amount of material and reports from consultants, I'd like to take the opportunity to review it before we issue an order of conditions. And so, unless people are strongly opposed, I would suggest we have 21 days to do it.
Mhm.
Our next meeting is well within the 21-day window, so I would suggest we do that, the order of conditions next week, or the next meeting, rather,
For 17.
for 17 Mill Street. Okay? And is there any other business?
Russian Street.
Rochdale Street, we pretty much.
Just the Mill Street,
Broke
if
it.
you wanted to go look at that.
We should take a look on
Rochdale
Mr. Robert's
Street.
property.
Is that 34 Mill? Okay. Yeah, that's the one we had for July 7th.
But I have proper
Rochdale
footwear.
Street's continued to the next meeting. It's already,
Yep.
Oh, it is already,
yeah,
okay.
to the
Yeah.
25th.
Okay, yeah.
Cheryl Rokas did call me today, and I did give her a little insight as to what was going on, and
Right.
she will be coming on the 20th.
And you have not heard from Mr. Goodman, is that right?
No, nothing.
Okay.
No, you won't respond.
No, you won't. So
Well-
July 7th, we'll get it at Mill Street and Cedar Street.
Okay, if there's no other business, is there a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
Or adjourn, rather?
Yes. I'll second that.
I guess I'm tired. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed to vote. All right,
All right.
thank you, everyone.
Motion.